Abel Onchara, who is an international affairs analyst, to just give us an inside scoop of what is happening in Ethiopia. Good morning and thank you for joining us on News Center, Abel.
Good morning to you.
Right, let me just begin by what was happening yesterday with the state of emergency. And we know we have Prime Minister Abe, who is a Nobel Peace Prize laureate, as it were, and he calls on the citizens to register their weapons and defend their city, defend their country. This is a call to war for a person who is, we should say, an epitome of peace, that we know he's having the laureate prize, the Nobel Peace Prize. This is making many people to wonder, has Abiy lost it in this fight in Ethiopia?
Well, I don't think he has lost it, but there is a sense of fear. There's a sense of uneasiness, of course. And I think the crisis has spun a lot of control. It's, morphed into something you never expected. Way back in 2020, when the Tigray region, began an onslaught against the government, he promised that it could be a quick, conflict which he felt could be resolved very, very quickly. He sent in the Ethiopian army. But then, unexpectedly, it has become something that is very hard to deal with. That is because of the strength of the semi-autonomous army the Tigray region has. So he was not prepared. But then what he has done, as someone who believes in popular initiatives, is to call upon Ethiopians to defend themselves against what he considers an internal enemy. So I think the call is okay, and it's a test of the kind of support that he has, which means if there's an outpouring of support from the citizens, then that can be some kind of endorsement of both his leadership and the action he's taking.
Yeah, and this is quite a very fluid situation in Ethiopia. We know also some of the blue chip companies like Safaricom was looking forward to invest heavily in Ethiopia. But right now we can see investors are pulling out. Citizens of international, of course, foreign citizens also are pulling out from Ethiopia, as it were. What does it portend for Kenya as it is right now? And also, knowing that Ethiopia has been the biggest hub of, regional meetings. We have the African Union Center way at the center of course, Addis Ababa, as it were. What does it portend for the region? What does it portend for the country and our business interest in Ethiopia?
Well, I think the effects are far-reaching and they're negative, unfortunately. Number one, as you know, the capital of Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, has been a very, very key region. Capital when it comes to both regional, continental, and global meetings, which means that will be disrupted. Number two, Ethiopia is the second most populous country in Africa, and it happens to be our neighbor, which means a crisis in our neighboring country will actually worsen the refugee crisis or issues we've been dealing with for the last two decades. That is in addition to Somalia. And the possibility of the crisis spilling over to our northern part of the country is quite real. So that is another problem we'll have to deal with. Then, of course, as a business partner, as a trading partner, and as a place where our companies, do business, that is going also to affect the investments, direct investment, which our people do in Ethiopia. And it speaks volumes about the continued weakness of African institutions that we've always complained about. That is the European Union, the African Union, talk about the other regional organizations which are meant to always move in and help whenever we have all crises. So it again exposes our weakness as a continent when it comes to resolving the problems in our countries. And that's why I think I like the statement which was released by the President of Kenya, that is Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, calling upon the protagonists, to try and talk. Only that this kind of statement should have come in much earlier. The pressure we should be seeing, we are going to be witnessing now when Ethiopia is almost going under, should have actually begun earlier. Maybe it could have helped. I hope it's not too late.
Mm-hmm. Do you see any likelihood of the protagonist having a happy medium on this? Because this has taken a long, protracted time. Since May last year, of course, it's been a year-long war. And there are bugbears and fears as well that Ethiopia may be now heading towards a failed state right? Do you see any hallmarks of a failed state with what is happening currently?
We can say there's a promise of resolution because of the attitude of Ahmed Abiy, that is the Prime Minister. I've studied him for a while, and he is someone who's willing to talk. He's someone who has a very positive attitude. He's a patriot, according to Ethiopian standards. I think I'm not the only person who was able to see this side of the Prime Minister, because even the Nobel Committee recognized him as a forward-thinking leader and gave him the Nobel way early, which of course some people can argue came way before it should have. So there is a possibility, because on his side, I think he has a good intention and he wants to see the crisis resolved. But on the other hand, if he appears to be too weak, that will give some kind of encouragement to the other side, which will keep on pushing to destabilize the nation even further. So he has to demonstrate strength, which of course can compel the other guys the Tigray forces to either down their tools or be willing to come to the negotiation table to talk. So if he keeps on demonstrating weakness, it might not be the right kind of statement that he needs to send as the Ethiopian Prime Minister.
Right. Abel, maybe if I may just ask you as well, we know, aside with what the president was saying that yesterday from his statement, Kenya also is sitting firmly in the United Nations Security Council. Do you think there can be any measurable difference with this particular seat that we have in trying to, curtail and ward off what is happening in Ethiopia as far as the war is concerned?
Well, the statement itself, when you read it, when you see the wording of the statement, it shows you that the president has been doing so many things. Given the various positions of leadership he holds from within the continent and beyond, there is so much that has been happening behind, closed doors. He has been making calls. He has reached out to most likely the Prime Minister himself, and even the other guys on the other side, from the TLPF. So the statement itself at this point might not make a big difference, but it sends a signal to the rest of the world and the world leadership that African leaders are involved and engaged in the ongoing crisis. So the real solution, the real way to help is to promise either to stand with the Prime Minister as the African Union, or to tell the Prime Minister to give in. So they have to choose a position and make it very clear. It does not help to send ambiguous statements whereby you appear to be saying both sides are right. When people are dying, when people are being displaced, when there's so much suffering, you cannot afford to sit on the fence. So they have to make a statement which calls upon the Tigray People's Liberation Forces to side with to negotiate with the government after downing their tools, or call upon the Prime Minister to actually welcome their demands and give in. So they have to choose a side, which will call upon all this, including the president, to examine what's going on and look at where they should put their lots.
Right, thank you. And of course, maybe just to prime you, if you're joining us and you are not aware of what is happening and what the president said yesterday in regard to what is happening in Ethiopia, President Kenyatta last evening weighed in on the Ethiopia crisis and said only dialogue will end the Ethiopian conflict, urging Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and TPLF fighters to seek a political solution to the war, saying the war must stop. President Kenyatta, in a seemingly passionate statement released to the newsrooms, said he has used his good offices as Kenya's president, Ethiopia's friend and neighbor, as well as head of various international and regional organizations to no avail. Now, yesterday marked the first year since the Tigray